everyone. Welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. My name is Jane Applegath, founder of the Epic Vision Zone, Conversations that Inspire. Each show, we offer you an inspiring person or message to bring you closer to your big dream by showing you how to enter the portal to possibilities, prosperity, and potential so that you can live your epic life. Thank you for being here today. And if you're listening to the audio version, make sure that you're following the episode on your favorite app. And if watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you never miss an episode. Winston Churchill said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Dr. Noah St. John is known as the Father of AFFORMATIONS. Working with Hollywood celebrities, he is renowned as the mental health coach to the stars. Noah's 22 books have been published in 19 languages worldwide, including his new book, The Seven-Figure Life: How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. Working with 8-figure CEOs, professional athletes, and trailblazers, Noah is famous for helping entrepreneurs make more in just 12 weeks than they made in the last 12 months, all while winning their lives back. His sought-after advice is known as the secret sauce to business and personal growth. His mission is to eliminate not-enoughness from the world. He is internationally known for his signature coaching services and facilitating workshops for companies, teams, organizations, and much more across the globe. Noah delivers private workshops, virtual events, and online courses that his audience call mandatory for anyone who wants to succeed in life and business. He appears frequently in the news worldwide, including ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Entrepreneur, Success Magazine, and more. I'm so happy and I welcome you, Noah. Thank you for joining us here today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jane.
Well, I can't wait to get started. I'm a big fan of your what you're teaching and the work that you do. So let's delve right in. What inspired you to do the work that you do today?
Well, I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood, and I know that's a total cliche, but it's true. I grew up in this little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which happens to be one of the wealthiest communities in New England. But my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished home that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure when I was just 15 years old. So from a very young age, I had the painful experience of the chasm, the gap between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community. The have-nots was my family. Now, I'm sure we've all heard those speakers, motivational speakers, and they get on stage and they say things like, well, we were poor, but we were happy. We didn't know we were poor. Well, in my family, we freaking knew we were poor because my mother, bless her heart, reminded us every day that we were poor and miserable. So no, it wasn't happy. It sucked. And so from a very young age, I hated that life of poverty and fear, lack, not enoughness. That's what I grew up with. But I saw that right down the street, there's great wealth and abundance. So I literally said from the time I was a little kid, how the heck do I get from here to there? And so, of course, there was no one to help me. There was no internet back then, no coaches or anything like that. So I did the only thing I could do, which is I went to the library and I started reading books. I started reading books on success and self-help, all the classics, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Stephen Covey. And I read all these books for years and years and years, and they all said pretty much the same thing. And I really, really tried to get them to work. But as hard as I tried, as hard as I worked, I just couldn't get them to work. So at the age of 25, I decided to commit suicide because I was so depressed and frustrated. And I just said, I don't want to be here anymore. Now, at the very last moment, my life was spared. But I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was here on the earth. And so I went on another long journey, this time to find what is my purpose here on the earth. So I went back to the library, started reading more books, this time about spiritual growth, about inner growth. And, authors like Deepak Chopra, Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson, Ernest Holmes, the spiritual thinkers of our time. And so then fast forward 5 years later, in 1997, over 25 years ago now, I actually had these two epiphanies where I realized exactly what was missing in the traditional success literature that I'd been studying and reading for all those years. I finally got it, what was missing, and I realized this is my purpose here on the earth. And so I wrote my very first book, which was called Permission to Succeed in 1999. It was published by the Chicken Soup publisher. And since that time, as you mentioned, published over 22 books in 18 languages, and including my new book, as you mentioned, which is called The Seven-Figure Life, How to Leverage the Four Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. So it's really been an amazing journey, because now, as an executive coach, a mental health coach, a business coach, I've helped my clients add 6, 7, and even 8 figures in record time while winning their lives back, using my system, using my methodology. So it's really been quite a journey, and I'm very privileged to get to do the work that I do with just really amazing people all around the world.
Thank you for sharing that. Wow, what a journey. And just that you had some inkling in the back of your mind to start to begin to learn and study. That's really insightful, because you took it upon yourself and you realized that there was something in you that realized that I can make a difference, and I need to understand
Mhm.
how that happens. And you made that journey to the library to start to learn and to grow. Wow. That was, whether you knew it or not, you had it in you. Like you said, you got the epiphany and the light bulb went on. So that's fabulous. And now here you are sharing. So thank you so much for that story. Absolutely. It really adds the richness to the reason why you do what you
Mhm.
do. And I love that phrase that you said, not enoughness. Oh, that is so huge today. So let's delve in and becoming enough. How do we instantly go from the not enoughness to enough?
Well, it's amazing, because way, way back in 1998, when I launched my company, successclinic.com, it was in a 300 square foot basement apartment. That's where I was living at the time. I had $800 to my name and a book on HTML, and that's really all I had. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any marketing experience or sales or business experience. I'm not a natural entrepreneur. I wasn't mowing lawns or doing all those things that so many, natural entrepreneurs do, or, when they were kids. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I had no idea what an entrepreneur even was. And so I was, in fact, working in corporate America, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to kill myself, because it was
Mm.
it was awful. I mean, every day I would wake up and I would just feel like there was someone's hands around my throat, choking me, choking the life out of me every single day, going into those jobs that I really, really, did not like. They were certainly not fulfilling at all. And of course, I really wasn't making much money either. So it wasn't like I had a lot of money. It was like, well, no money and no fulfillment. It pretty much sucks, so there wasn't anything good about it. So when people come to me with experiences like that, I can certainly empathize. So way, way back in 1990, late 1997, early 1998, when I came out with my very first email newsletter. So I've been doing this online for over 25 years. If you can remember being online back in the 90s, remember that, the modem and stuff, the right, remember that? And it was just, it was so slow. And, you could have maybe a picture like about that big on your website, like 3 pixels by 5 pixels. And, you know, you certainly couldn't have any video or talk like we're doing now, from all around the world. It's really amazing, how technology has improved a great deal in the last
Right.
25 years. But really, my very first newsletter, because I realized that for so many millions and millions of people all around the world, their very core problem is they don't know or believe that they're enough. So my very first newsletter was called You Are Enough. So I was really the first person to start talking about the fact that you are enough, and that the whole point of not enoughness is, in fact, I have been arguing for this for a very long time, that not enoughness, I believe, is the cause of most human suffering. If you think about the belief in not enough, how it affects so many aspects of our lives, right? If you believe there's not enough time, right, you're going to act in a certain way that causes your stress level to just go through the roof. If you believe there's not enough money, then you're going to behave in a way that really is not coming from a place of abundance, but it's coming from a place of scarcity. If you believe there's not enough love, right, you're actually going to push love away. You're going to push away the very thing that you're looking for. And so I've been teaching people about this whole concept of enoughness for over 25 years. Now, lots and lots of people talk about it, but I was the first one to be talking about this whole concept of enoughness way back in the 90s. And so, it makes me laugh to see that so many people are talking about it now. And I'm like, thanks for joining the party. This is something I've been teaching for, 25 years now to my clients, whether, one-on-one or group coaching. But now I realize that while that is a very good start and a very necessary start, because there are, tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions really, who don't think they're enough, no matter what they do. And so the point is that, using my methodologies, people start to realize that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how many things you accumulate. If you still have that emptiness inside, that belief in not enoughness, doesn't matter how many things you accumulate, you're still going to feel not enough. In fact, it was funny. I was watching a movie. It was actually Sonic the Hedgehog 2, believe it or not. And Jim Carrey, who is a very well-known for, talking about positive thinking and visualization and things like that. He's been talking about that for many, many years. And of course, he's a great example of how it's worked in his life. I was watching that movie and he said, once I conquer the world, then I'll feel like enough. And I was just laughing because I knew that was an inside joke of something that he's been, talking about, and I've been talking about for a long, long time.
Right, right. Yes, you're absolutely right. That really hits the nail on the head. Excuse me, about being not enough. So that being said, your new book is titled, as you mentioned, The Seven-Figure Life, but you say it's about more than money. What do you mean by that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, the book is called The Seven-Figure Life. You can see it back there, The Seven-Figure Life, how to leverage you can't read the subtitle, but it's how to leverage the 4 focus factors for more wealth and happiness. So when people hear the title, The Seven-Figure Life, right, they immediately assume, oh, he just talks about money. And, of course, I talk about money, but one of the things I like to do as as I mentioned, I'm an executive coach, I'm a mental health coach, I'm a business coach. I've helped people make a lot of money, over $2 billion over the last 25 years. But I'm also a keynote speaker. I get to speak for conferences, events, whether live or virtual, all around the world, or companies, organizations, teams, around the country and around the world. And one of the things I like to do with my keynote speeches is I like to give this example to show why the 7-figure life is about a lot more than money. So here's what I say. I'll say, okay, guess what? Now I'm going to give you $1 million right now. I want you to imagine and picture in your mind that I'm going to give you $1 million, right? And everybody goes, oh, that sounds great, right? I'm pretty excited. And I say, okay, there's just one catch. And they say, well, what's the catch? And I say, well, the catch is that you have no time to enjoy it, right? You have no time whatsoever. You're always working all the time. You're busy, busy, busy. You're overwhelmed with all the things you have to do, and you have no time at all to enjoy all this money that you have, that I just gave you, right? And does that sound like a good deal? And most people go, well, no, that doesn't really sound like a great deal. I say, okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you $1 million, and you have to be sad, miserable, angry, and depressed all the time. Sound good? No, that doesn't sound very good, right? And then I say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 million, but you have no one to enjoy it with, right? You have no relationships, you have no family, no friends. And so, there's no one around, and you just can't enjoy it with anybody in your life. Does that sound good? And they're like, no, none of that sounds any good, right? So that's how I show people through example that just because you have lots of money, that does not make a happy, fulfilled life. So that's why the 4 focus factors that I teach you in the 7-figure life book are, in fact, time, energy, relationships, and money. So when we leverage those 4 focus factors of time, energy, relationships, and money that I teach you in the book, that's when we're living a life of more wealth, more health, and more fulfillment.
Hmm. Thank you. Wow. I can't wait to delve into that. I haven't gotten my copy yet, but I will definitely. It sounds, you're absolutely right. I love that you paint the picture, the story that you say, if I gave you $1 million, but you couldn't do this or you can't have that, because that really, that's what we resonate with. And I think a lot of people, that's a great way for people to realize that money isn't everything and it doesn't buy you what you feel that you think you're seeking. It's much deeper than that. So those are terrific metaphors. I love that. So here's a big
Thank you.
question that I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of us would love to find the answer to right now, Noah. It's these days, we hear a lot about imposter syndrome and overwhelm and stress, and it leads a lot of us to the feeling of being stuck. So, what is the number one reason we feel stuck and stay there?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I can make the argument that I've written 22 books. You can see some of my books behind me there. I've written 22 books basically about this one subject, which is basically how to, be more than you are right now, how to get unstuck and frankly, get out of your own way so that you can live a life of more wealth and happiness. And so, lots and lots of people talk about getting unstuck and get out of your own way and all these things. But the problem is what they're doing is they're talking about behaviors, right? And they're talking about, well, just change your attitude, right? Just change your behavior. And so what they're doing is they're talking at the surface level. But what I do that's different and what I've been doing for over 20 plus years now, and with, my clients, whether one-on-one or group coaching or in my books and seminars, is going beneath the behavior, going beneath that to what's actually causing the behavior. So what I've been teaching for many, many years is you can't change behavior at the level of behavior. You have to go beneath the behavior to what's actually causing it, right? So in my keynote speeches, for example, I love to play a little game. Let's say there's 1,000 people in the audience, right? And I say, okay, now everybody, we're going to change our behavior right now. Now, everybody get up and like each other. And of course, everyone starts laughing, right? Because it's like, what do you mean, Noah? How are we supposed to like one? We don't even know each other, right? I mean, I know some people here, but what about the people I don't even know? How am I supposed to like them? And I say, aha, see what I just did? I just proved to you that you can't change behavior at the level of behavior. When someone goes around saying, like think positive and believe in yourself and all these things that are just changing your behavior, they're not really saying anything. And so the point is, what I do that's different is I show you what's actually beneath the behaviors of holding yourself back. And that is this term that I came up with many years ago called your head trash. Your head trash is actually the cause of all these different behaviors. But if you just work on the level of behavior, the behavior is just going to keep coming back, right? I'll give you another example. Imagine if you had a pain in your tooth. Have you ever had a toothache, right? And your tooth really hurts. You're like, oh my gosh, this tooth, oh man, it really hurts. And when you have a toothache, you can't think of anything else, right? It just takes over your whole life and you're in such pain. And you're like, oh man, I can't take this anymore. And so what do? You go to the dentist, right? And he examines you. So imagine you go to the dentist and he's examining you and he says, yeah, looks like you have a cavity. Okay, next. And you're like, wait, what? Time out, buddy. You told me what the problem is, but I want you to fix it, right? Just because you told me what the problem is, I pretty much knew that was the problem. I need you to fix it. That's why I came here, right? And then he says, okay. I guess I can help you with that. And so what he does is he gives you a prescription for painkillers. Here's some pain pills. Just take some pills, and then it won't hurt so bad. And you look at him like, are you kidding me right now? You didn't fix the problem, right? All you did was you gave me something to mask the symptom. So that's what we see in this industry. I'm talking about the personal and business development industry, right? You see all these, gurus, these fake guys out there that just give these very surface, very bland, very cliched advice that doesn't mean anything. And so what I do is I say, guess what? We need to go beneath that to this, what I call head trash. The head trash is actually the cause of all these other problems that you're facing, like procrastination or lack of focus, lack of discipline, just not getting the results that you want in your life. And so once we get to the cause of those problems, one of my clients said to me many years ago, he said, after I helped him, he literally doubled his income in less than 12 weeks after he spent a lot of time and money and effort on all these other things. And he said, Noah, once we were finishing up our coaching, he said, Noah, do you realize that your coaching is the only coaching that fixes every other coaching? I said, yeah, you're right. It actually does. I never thought of that before. And I was happy that it came from one of my clients. It wasn't me saying it. He said it. But it really is true. Once you fix the cause, then all the other symptoms just really take care of themselves.
Yes, I could see that. And again, once again, that story really hits home as to what they're doing. So the head trash then would be your negative speak, your, some of your past histories, recordings, the stories that just keep playing over and over again. Is that what you were referring to as head trash?
Well, those are a few examples of head trash, but it's actually even deeper than that. So for everyone listening to the program or watching the program, I want you to think about your goals, right? So, in my coaching and in my books and my training programs, we're always focused on results, right? We're focused on what it is that you want to have, create, experience in your life, in your business, right? So it's about results. It's not about theory. It's not about hypotheticals. It's about real world results, for real people and getting real results. So think about what it is that you want, right? We have to start with what do you want? Because it would be, silly for me or anybody to come in and say, well, here's what you should want. And the person goes, well, how do you know what I want? Right? It's like if you go to an architect and they start telling you, well, here's the kind of house you should have. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I don't want that. I want a different house. And that's what most of the people do out there. They just, it's a one size cookie cutter. Everybody gets the same house. And what I do that's different is I say, what kind of house do you want? And a lot of people haven't even thought about it yet. They're like, well, geez, I don't know. Let's see, should I have 3 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms? I don't know. So, the point is you got to think about that. You got to write it down. So what are the things that you want? Now, there are 3 main areas of things that we want, right? And that is health, wealth, and relationships. That's pretty much it, right? Those are the big picture. So when you look at your health, what are the things that you want to experience in your health? Right? You want to, lose some weight? Do you want to get in shape? Do you want to, have 6-pack abs? Just have vibrant health, whatever it might be. So really write that down in your health, right? And of course, if you don't have your health, it doesn't really matter what else we do, right? So you got to have that health. And I'm also talking about not just physical, but also emotional health and mental health, right? These are very, very important things. All right. So your health is a very big issue. Then we have your wealth, right? So what do you want to experience with money? Right? Your finances. If you own your own business, do you want to scale it up? Do you want to add 6 or 7 or even 8 figures? We've helped people do all of the above and more, right? So if you don't own your own business, maybe you want a promotion at your job, or maybe you want to start a whole new career or a side hustle, whatever it might be, right? So that's your wealth. And then your relationships, right? What do you want in your relationships? Do you want to have a happy marriage? Do you want to find your soulmate? Do you want to just have, a lot of friends and experiences like that? So get very clear on all of those things: health, wealth, and relationships. Okay, so that's the first step. Now, the next thing that happens, and here's where it gets very interesting. The next thing that happens is, for most people, the very next thing that happens is, well, Noah, I want all these things. I probably can't do it, right? Yeah, I want to make more money, but yeah, I don't think I can do it. But here's the key. There's always a reason why you are telling yourself you can't do it. And it goes something like this. Well, no, I want to grow my business, but I can't do it because I don't have the time. Or no, I want to, have this result. I want to add, $10,000 a month or $50,000 or $100,000 a month, but I don't have the money. I can't afford it. I want to have better health, but I don't know where to start. And see, you see what I'm doing is, for everything that I want or the person wants, they always have an excuse. I can't do it because ... And then you fill in the blank with whatever excuse. So what I have been teaching my clients for many, many years is whatever comes after the word because is your head trash. Not only
Mm,
that, but there's an amazing phenomenon that's going on here, which is that you always make yourself right.
yeah.
We humans have an infinite capacity to make ourselves right. And so what happens is people say, Noah, I want to grow my business. I want to make more money. I want to be happier. I want to be healthier, but I can't do it because fill in the blank. And then they make themselves right. So what I teach, I talk about it in my books, in my seminars, my coaching. I say, listen, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich and happy? It's up to you.
Mm, right. Well, there I said right. But absolutely, yeah, I could see that. Yes. And it's interesting because you said that, you ask people what they want in their
Mm-hmm,
health, their wealth and relationships. And when we get on the
mm-hmm,
hamster wheel of life, it's interesting that we don't even give ourselves the time to ask those questions once we
right.
become we grow out of the house, we've got our job, you start a family, you've got responsibilities, you've got bills to pay.
Mm-hmm,
And it's like, I haven't asked myself that question because really I just been on the hamster wheel. But you're absolutely
that's
right.
right.
Getting them to focus and then getting them to realize that those words are very important, what you say to yourself, you know. So I'm
That's right.
really, thank you for that, Noah. So I'm really curious. They say you're
Mm-hmm.
famous for helping clients make more in 12 weeks than they ever did in their previous 12 months. So I would
Yep.
love to know the secret to that. And I'm sure everybody
Absolutely.
listening would.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely known for that. And when you go to my website and you'll see all the different case studies that we have, as I was saying a moment ago, we're all about results. We're about real people, real results. You know, you could say ordinary people, extraordinary results, because that's what I'm known for. And that is what people really want in their lives. That's why so many people have spent all this time, money, and effort on all these different programs out there getting a lot of what I call shelf help, right? Shelf help means, you went to all these seminars or got all these books and then they're just sitting on the shelf and not doing you any good. So one of the ways that I, have been known for is helping people make more in 12 weeks than they did in the past 12 months while winning their lives back. And by the way, that's a very important phrase. I just want to highlight that for a moment. When I say making more in 12 weeks than you did in the past 12 months while winning back 1 to 3 hours per day and 4 to 8 weeks in your year. Now, why is that important? Well, the fact is that there's lots of gurus, so-called gurus out there that say, well, hey, if you want to make more money, here's all you do. You just work 10 times harder, work 10 times longer, don't take any breaks, and don't see your family and just keep your nose to the grindstone all the time. Sound good? And you're like, no, that doesn't sound any good. I don't like that at all. I want a life, right? So that's what makes my coaching different is that I'm not teaching what I call the hustle and grind, right? That's the hustle and grinders out there. And there's, lots of them out there and they take up lots of air on social media. And a lot of people think, well, geez, if I'm not working all the time, I guess I must be a failure. I guess I don't want it that bad. And I'm here to tell you, no, that is not true. There are many, many more ways to succeed than those guys would have us believe. So what I do that's different is I teach you the inner game and the outer game. All right. And this is really what I've been known for more than 20 years is inner game and outer game. Now, what does that mean? Well, in any human endeavor, there's always these two components, and that is the inner component and the outer component. Now, I just like to say inner game and outer game. All right, so what does that mean? Well, your inner game is everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it affects everything that you do. For example, in my keynote presentations, one of the things I like to ask my audience members is, what is one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And people go like this. They go, and I go, exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? Your beliefs affect your health, your wealth, your relationships, everything I've been talking about. Your beliefs affect every single aspect of your life. But here's the funny thing. You can't see a belief. You can only see the effects of a belief. right? And that's why you can be doing well in one area of your life, but maybe in another area you're stuck or you're struggling. For example, maybe, your health is really good, but maybe you're not making the money you want to be making. Or maybe your business is going great, but your health and relationships are suffering, right? So it's not cookie cutter, one size fits all. It's a very customized, personalized approach for each person, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching that we do, right? So the point is, that's the inner game. But then we also have the outer game, right? Now, the outer game is everything you can see directly. That also affects everything that you do. So, for example, let's say you have an online business, right? So you have to have the right offers, the right funnels, and the right traffic in place in order for you to make money, right? So that's the outer game. But what's fascinating is that most people really have spent lots of time, money, and effort on their outer game, but no one has really taken the time to show them how to master their inner game. I'll give you an example of this. I was working with one of my clients. His name's Adam, and he is a software CEO. He owns a company, and he had been stuck. His company was stuck at for the past 4 years. Right, it was just flatlined. Right, we call it the income ceiling. He kept just banging his head on that income ceiling, and he had spent tens of thousands of dollars on all those guys out there, all the marketing gurus and all that stuff, but he just kept hitting that ceiling. It was just flat. 4 years he'd been doing this, right? Then he heard me speak at a seminar. I was speaking at a seminar in Los Angeles, about 1,000, entrepreneurs, business owners, 7 and 8 figure earners, very successful people. And he heard me speak. He, came out of the audience and he said to me, Noah, I want to hire you as my coach. You're the coach I've been looking for. And that's one of the reasons I love working with high achievers, right? Because they make decisions quickly and firmly, right? They don't dilly-dally. He said, I want to hire you. So he really hired me on the spot. So I coached him for about 18 months. And in that 18 months, we were able to get his company from being flatlined for the previous 4 years to over 20 million in revenues in less than 18 months, a 600% increase, less than 18 months. That's what we like to call hockey stick growth. Right? You're going along like this, and all of a sudden you have this is where the magic happens, and you're whoop right through the roof. And so what's amazing about that story is that 99% of what we talked about was inner game. 99% of what I helped him with was inner game. He'd spent all this time, money, and effort on all the outer game stuff. Not that it's wrong. It's not that it's wrong. It's just that no one had taken the time to show him a systematic approach to master your inner game. And then that is what made all the difference for him. And it's what's made the difference for so many of my clients over the years. And so once you understand how to master your inner game and your outer game, well, that's when you get that hockey stick growth.
Yes, absolutely. As what you call the inner game, I have a saying that I like to share with my clients, and I say, once your thoughts are not a record of the past, but a roadmap to the future, that's when you draw your vision to you. And it's
Right.
that's the inner game. I mean, that's in a very simplistic way, but yes, absolutely, because the inner game is so important. And we don't realize, like you said, how we are getting in our own way, and it often takes someone like yourself to show others that it's your doing, that we're your block. There's something you're doing that's blocking it, and the magic happens when those walls come down, the barriers come down, and that, like you said, that's why they hire you. Absolutely. So I'm very, very curious. You're known as the father of affirmations, not affirmations. And what are these affirmations, and how are they different from the affirmations?
Right, absolutely. So this is one of the power habits that I teach. My system is called the Power Habits of Unconsciously Successful People. And so what my affirmations method is really the foundational power habit that highly successful people are doing that they don't even know they're doing, and therefore they can't teach it to you. Right. So it took a nerd like me to come along. I'm known as the nerdiest nerd in the industry. And so I basically figured this out over a period of 30 plus years. And I realized, and this is one of the things that, makes my programs different. And so it's called AFFORMATIONS, and it's spelled AFFORMATIONS. And for the folks listening and watching the program, you can go to AFFORMATIONS.com. You can learn more about my AFFORMATIONS method. So again, it's AFFORMATIONS. So, by the way, this is my book from Hay House that I was holding up there. It's called The Book of AFFORMATIONS, published by Hay House. And so everybody who's ever read a self-help book knows what an affirmation is, right? The old way that the gurus have been teaching us for decades, right? An affirmation, as we all know, is a statement of something you want to be true. So like at my keynote speeches, keynote presentations, whether live or virtual around the world, I like to play a game and I say, all right, everybody, we're going to say an affirmation just like they taught us. Everybody stand up and say, I am rich. So everybody stands up and they go, I am rich. You know what happens next? Everyone starts laughing. And I go, what are you laughing at? And they go, well, I'm not rich. And I say, but you just said you were. And they go, yeah, but I don't believe it. Isn't that the problem with that old method, right? With the old way that they taught us, we say these positive statements, we want to believe them, but most of the time we just don't believe them. And what the guru said is, well, if you don't believe your affirmations, just repeat them 1,000 million billion cajillion times until you believe it someday. Well, okay, for some people that worked, but for 75%, and a scientific study was actually done on this very topic. A scientific study actually showed that for 75% of people, the affirmations not only don't work, they make you more frustrated than before. So imagine if you had a smartphone that didn't work 3 out of the 4 times you're trying to use it. You'd probably get a new phone, wouldn't you? Well, that's what I invented. I invented a new phone, a better phone, one that works all the time. And so I invented the affirmations method, which is instead of saying a statement of something you want to be true, I invented this methodology that you ask empowering questions that immediately change your subconscious thought patterns. So an example of the affirmation is, I am rich, and your brain goes, yeah, right, right? We just don't believe it. So an example, and by the way, I discovered affirmations in my books and my coaching programs. I talk about this, and I call it the shower that changed everything, because I was in the shower. It was April 1997. And when I actually discovered this, we've all had those aha moments in the shower, I bet. And so, this was the shower that changed everything. And so the point is, I realized, wait a minute, why are we going around making these statements we don't believe when the human mind responds automatically to something even simpler, which is the power of questions? And so I said, well, let's see, what would that look like? And I said, well, let's see, you got the statement or affirmation, I am rich, which your brain says, yeah, right. And then I said, well, what would the question be? And then I said, why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, when you ask the question, why am I so rich? What immediately starts to happen in your brain? Well, what immediately happens is you start to search for the answer, right? Because that's what happens when you ask a question. It's called the embedded presupposition factor of the brain. And so I realized that, wait a minute, when you ask a question, you're immediately starting to search for the answer. Why don't we just cut out the middleman and go right to the question? And so what I am teaching, in my books and my coaching programs is the law of sowing and reaping. As you sow, so shall you reap. Now, this is an ancient law. It's been taught for centuries. And yet, what are we sowing? We're sowing seeds of thought. But do you know what most people are doing? Sowing lousy thought seeds. Why am I so stupid? Why am I so fat? Why can't I do anything right? Why isn't my business growing? Why can't I get more clients or customers or patients come into my practice? Why is there more month left at the end of the money? Well, when you ask lousy questions, what do you get? You get lousy answers, right? And that creates a lousy life. So I said, wait a second, what if instead of asking lousy questions that lead to lousy answers, create a lousy life, why don't we just flip the whole thing on its head, start asking empowering questions that lead to phenomenal answers, and create a wonderful life? And as I was standing there in the shower, April 1997, I said, holy cow, I think I just invented something. And so I had to give it a name. And the name that I gave it was, in fact, AFFORMATIONS. Again, AFFORMATIONS. You can go to AFFORMATIONS.com and learn more about it. So that's my affirmations method, which is, in fact, now the foundational power habit of unconsciously successful people. This is what highly successful people do that they don't even know they're doing, and therefore they can never teach it to you. And so just using that one method alone has changed millions of lives all around the world for the last 25 years.
That's brilliant, Noah. I love it. You're absolutely right. It completely changes your mindset when you ask the question as opposed to saying it. And going back to your previous statement about beliefs, if we don't believe it, then it's not going to happen. So it all works into the whole methodology of what you teach. So brilliant. And what I love is that I think from all your digging and researching and learning, because you questioned why don't these things work, is these are the things that all came together to make you the success that you are.
That's right.
And speaking of that, you have something that you say, starving yourself of success. So that's really interesting. How is it that people starve themselves of success? Is this more of the what you just mentioned there, where they say, I can't do this, or the head trash, or is there more to that?
Well, it all fits together. And so this is what I've been teaching for, more than 2 decades now. And one of the reasons that I help people make so much money and get their lives back. And so this was one of the other epiphanies that I had in 1997. The first was AFFORMATIONS, which I was just talking about, and you can learn more about that on my website. And then the second epiphany that I had was that millions and millions of people all around the world are unknowingly, unconsciously, and unwittingly starving themselves of success. Now, here's what I mean by that. So, in fact, I was at a seminar on eating disorders when I realized that just like millions and millions of people are starving themselves of food, millions and millions of people are also starving themselves of success. And no one had ever put those two things together before I did that over 25 years ago. And I realized that, like I was talking earlier about behavior versus cause, right? Or symptom versus cause. Well, everybody out there is talking about the symptoms, right? The behaviors, like self-sabotage, right? That's a behavior. Lots of people talk about that. But do you know what the treatment was prior to my work of how to stop self-sabotage? Well, I'll tell you, the treatment was, if you're sabotaging yourself, don't do that. Wow, thank you. That's so helpful. I never would have thought of that. It's literally like saying to someone who has anorexia, right? Who's starving themselves of food. It's like saying to someone who's an anorexic, well, why don't you just eat? Duh. This is information or advice that is not helpful whatsoever. And yet that is exactly what's taught out there. Okay. So that's why what I do is different, because I realize, wait a minute. That's a behavior. Self-sabotage, or holding yourself back from the level of success you're capable of, or getting out of your own way. These are things that lots of people talk about, but that's all they do. They talk about it. And they basically say, well, if you want to get out of your own way, get out of your own way. Really? No kidding. Yeah, thank you. That didn't help, buddy. And so what I do is I say, hey, time out. Why are you getting in your own way in the first place? Right? And then he goes, I don't know. Right? And I go, well, let's examine that. Let's look at the cause of that, because that's just a behavior. Right? And you can't change behavior at the level of behavior. That's what they're all telling you to do. They're saying, well, get motivated. Come on. Think positive. Right? You can do it. Okay. Well, you didn't say anything wrong, but you also didn't say anything. All right. So that's why what I do is different, because I say, wait a minute, did you know? Have you ever thought about the fact that you might be starving yourself of success? And people go, what? And they go, but some people get it right away and they go, oh my gosh, you're right. No, that's exactly what I've been doing. I never thought of it that way. So if you think about it, like realizing that the very thing you're going after is the very thing you're stopping yourself from getting. Not because you want to do that. This is not a conscious behavior. But when we look at the iceberg principle of human behavior, we realize that about 5%, only 5% of our thoughts, behaviors, and actions are conscious, like above the surface level, like that 5% of the iceberg. The vast 95% of our thoughts, behaviors, and actions every single day, are below the surface of consciousness. They're in the subconscious. That means you don't have any choice about it. You're not trying to do this. You're not wanting to do it. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, wow, this looks like a beautiful day. You know what? I think I'm going to hold myself back from success today. Right? No one's ever done that because that would be a conscious thought. But it doesn't matter because of the iceberg principle. The vast 95% of you are saying, are doing these unconscious behaviors for reasons you're not even aware of. So what my work does that makes it different is we bring the subconscious to the conscious level, and that's when you can make a choice about it. And like I always tell my audience members and my coaching clients, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching, I say, listen, it wasn't the percent of the iceberg that they could see that sunk the Titanic. It was the 95% that they didn't see that sunk the Titanic. And that is what's sinking most people too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love your metaphors, Noah, because they paint pictures. Seriously. And it really, I'm a very visual person. I used to be in television producer, and I love film and all that. But they really, I think that's, for me, one of the reasons that your teachings resonate so much with individuals, because we do think in metaphors. And yes, absolutely. They when you said that about the Titanic, it wasn't the small portion of the iceberg that sunk it. It was the big portion, and that's exactly what you're doing to yourself. Brilliant. I just love that. Oh my gosh. I'm like, heck, you're right. Wow. Thank you for that. Well, here, wrapping this up, I really love you to just go through quickly the 4 focus factors that you discuss in the book.
Yes. So remember, the book is The 7-Figure Life. And so the subtitle is How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. So the 4 focus factors are time, energy, relationships, and money. All right. So what I want everyone listening to the program to realize is something very simple, but very profound. Everyone that you'll ever meet wants more of these things, right? Everyone that you meet wants more time, right? They want more energy. They want better relationships, and you want more money, right? There's nobody you're going to meet that says, I think I want less time, less energy, I want lousy relationships, and I want less money, right? That's insane, right? So of course we all want more time, more energy, better relationships, and more money. Okay, so that's great. But here's what I want you to realize. You already have these things. Now, here's what I mean by that. You already have time. How do I know that? Because you're not dead. You're not dead yet, so you have time. Now, many people say to me, whether it's in one-on-one or group coaching, but no, I don't have the time. I say, really? So you have, let me just get this straight. So you have less than 24 hours today? And I go, well, no, I've got 24 hours, but I've got too much to do and too little time. Okay, aha. Now that's true. Or it might feel true anyway. So what you're really talking about is that you don't have these systems in place to manage the 24 hours that you actually have every day, right? Because you and I have the same 24 hours as Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, name any successful person. We've all got the same 24 hours in a day, right? So time is actually not the factor. In fact, one of the things that I'm known for teaching is there's no such thing as time management. That's a total myth. It's a total lie. There's no such thing as time because you can't manage time. Time just goes by. No matter what we do, you could sit there all day and time's still going to go by. Or you could be busy and time goes by. It doesn't make any difference. So what we must manage is our systems. That's what we have to manage. So we talk about systems management versus time management because time management doesn't even exist. All right. So that's looking at leveraging your time. Then we look at leveraging your energy, right? You have energy because you're not dead. You're not dead, right? If you had no energy, that means you're dead. So you got energy. And you say, but no, I'm tired all the time. I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. I'm depressed or whatever it might be. Okay. Well, then you're misusing your energy, right? So then we look at managing your energy, but I'm still going to say, well, you're not dead. So let's look at leveraging your energy. You have it, whether you think you do or you don't, you have it. Then relationships, right? You've got relationships. You're probably not a hermit living in the woods somewhere. Right? So you've got relationships. Now you might say, but no, I don't have the relationships I want. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's look at the ones that you have and why did you create those? Now, I've been in lousy relationships, a lot more than I'd like to admit. Because I was accepting whatever, just showed up. It just showed up. And I would say, oh, okay, I'll just take it. Whatever, just happened to show up that day or week or month or year or whatever. And that was because I had such low self-esteem. I had lots of head trash, right? Why do you think I wrote all these books? I wrote them for myself. And then luckily they help other people too. But the point is that, I would just get in these lousy, very, disempowering relationships with people who were just, like energy vampires. They would suck the life out of me. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And why? Because I didn't know that I had the power to choose my relationships, right? So many people, that's how I was raised. That's how lots of people were raised. So we've got to understand that we have the power to, if we don't like the relationships we're in, we have the power to change. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but you've got to make those kinds of decisions. And then money. Of course, everybody says, gee, no, I want more money. And what a lot of people say is, I don't have any money. Really, you don't have any money. So you're living under a bridge? I mean, you have no money? And of course they say, well, yeah, I've got some money, but it's not enough. Okay. Well, then we have to work with the money you have and leverage what you have to get more of what you want. All right. I'll give you an example of this. So I was working with one of my clients. His name's Charles. And this is the kind of things that we do, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching. I ask my clients different questions and I say, here's what do you want and where are you and how do we get there, right? We lay out a plan and get you there 10 times faster than you ever would alone. So I asked him, a question I ask all my clients, which is, how much do you think this is going to cost you if we don't get these things in place for you this year? Like in the next 12 months, if we don't get this in place for you, how much do you think it's going to cost you? Without batting an eye, he said $1 million. If I don't get this in place, I'm going to easily lose out on $1 million, right? Meaning if I get them in place, I know I could at least make $1 million, if not more. I said, okay, I tell you what, first of all, I hear that all the time, right? When I'm talking to people, they say, Noah, I'm losing $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month because I don't have this in place. That's 6 to 7 figures a year, right? That's a lot of money. So I said, first of all, it's very common. Next, number two, I said, I'll tell you what. You said you're going to lose out $1 million. Just give me 10% of that. Just give me 10% of that $1 million, and I will find you that $1 million in the next 12 months. And in other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He said, yeah, that's a good deal. And I said, okay, well, let's go. And he said, all right, let's do it. See, that's why I love working with high achievers. They make decisions quickly and firmly. They don't dilly-dally. He said, let's do it. So he paid me $100,000, right? That's a lot of money. But he was ready to do it. He said, let's do it. I trust, I hear all the stories. You've done amazing things for people. Let's go. So, I coached him one-on-one for 12 months. Now, I didn't find him $1 million in that 12 months. I found him 1.8 million in 10 months. So he not only got way more money than he even expected. In other words, he gave me $1. I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? No, that's a great deal. He sent me an email recently and he said, guess where I am, Noah? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. We just bought a new RV with all this money. I bought a new RV and now we are driving around the Southeast. We're taking a vacation. So not only am I making more money than ever before, now I have more time than I've ever had before. And he said, it's thanks to you and thanks to putting these systems in place. So that's what can happen when you leverage these 4 focus factors.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of people, because you said that you've met this, I'm really curious. You said attracting the right people. And you mentioned that in your earlier life that you tracked all the wrong people. How can we accelerate our life and business by attracting the right people? Like how do we go about attracting the right people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you look at the focus factor of relationships, right, it's a hugely important factor because, let's say you're a business owner, right? Who are your customers? Generally speaking, they're human beings, right? I mean, generally speaking, they're people, right? Because chimpanzees, orangutans, dolphins tend to not carry credit cards, right? And I know this with a name like Noah, I know these things, right? A little arc humor there. But anyway, my point is that we have to understand that when we talk about relationships, we're talking about your personal and your professional relationships. So, we can just talk about them briefly. Of course, I go into that in the book. But in your personal life, you want to really write down what kind of relationships you want. You have to be very clear about that. And, to use my example, because I wasn't clear, I would just, let not only just let what people do whatever, but I would let people walk all over me. I didn't have any personal boundaries because I had no self-esteem. And so I had no self-esteem. People walked all over me. They took advantage of me. They took my money. They took my self-confidence. And it was really awful. And that was for years. I let this go on because, of course, I didn't have a coach like me to help me. And so, it was awful. And it really took a long, long time for me to get out of that. Now, so that's your personal relationships. So you got to be very clear about that. And then same thing in your professional relationships. If you own a business or if you have a job, you got to be very clear on, all right, so what kind of clients do I want to attract? Let's just talk about, let's say, if you're an expert or an author, a speaker, a coach, a consultant, right? Because, my follow-up book to this book, The 7-Figure Life, is called The 7-Figure Expert, where I actually show you how to make 7 figures as an expert in your business. Okay. And so what kind of clients do you want to attract? Right? Like, so for me, I talked about it, right? I like high achievers. I like people who make decisions quickly and firmly. I like people who, actually do their homework, right? I don't want people who make excuses or are victims or want to stay in confusion, so I make a list of like that, like who I want to attract. And then amazingly, they just come out of nowhere, or people talk about me to their friends. They refer me just out of the blue. And people, Charles, in fact, he came to me because he read one of my books in Barnes and Noble. He walked by my book. He told me the story. He walked by one of my books 3 times in Barnes and Noble and finally bought it. And then he wasn't even finished with the book and he called me up and then he paid me $100K, to coach him one-on-one for a year. So, that's how fast that was. And so that's the kind of clients that I love working with. All right. So be very clear about who you want to work with, who you want to attract. And then you have to still go about doing the things, the outer game part, so that you raise your perceived value to the people that you want to attract. And this is true both in your personal and your professional life.
Right. Fabulous. Thank you so much. I really do believe that you really have to be purposeful in who you're wanting to reach or connect with in any which way, like you said. So coaching program, books, and bonuses. Where can people find out about all of these things and buy your incredible books? And I can't wait for that next one, by the way.
Well, yeah, it's already out, believe it or not. So
Okay.
the book we're talking about here today is called The 7-Figure Life: How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. So to get this book, just go to 7figurelifebook.com. Very easy to remember. 7, the number 7. 7figurelifebook.com. And because you're listening to this program right now, when you buy the book at 7figurelifebook.com, I will actually give you $300 worth of free bonus gifts. All right, so just put your information in there at 7figurelifebook.com, and I'll give you some awesome bonus gifts. In fact, including 2 of my ebooks that you can't get anywhere else. And then if you want to learn more about my coaching and how I can help you make more in 12 weeks and in the last 12 months, just go to, it's very easy to remember, go to breakthroughwithnoah.com. Easy to remember, breakthroughwithnoah.com. And you can watch a video training that I did about how I help my clients, make a lot of money and get their lives back. You see lots and lots of case studies of real people, real results, ordinary people, extraordinary results. All that's, and you can even book a breakthrough consultation right there at breakthroughwithnoah.com.
Wonderful. And we'll be sure to have all of that information for everyone also on the Epic Vision Zone bio pages. And is there any last words, Noah, that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, absolutely. Make sure that you get the help that you need, right? For years and years and years, I struggled because there was nobody to help me. And then even when I went to all those gurus out there, I paid them a ton of money only to discover that they can't teach their way out of a paper bag. They've got these big personalities, but there's no system there. And therefore, they didn't help me at all. They took my money and just didn't help. So I'm here to help the people who've maybe been burned by the gurus, who've tried lots of different things and really still aren't at the level of success that they want. So whether, it's me or somebody else, make sure that you get the help that you need, but make sure that whoever you work with or hire as a coach is someone who has a system, right? It's got to be a system-driven approach. That way it works for anyone, no matter who you are.
Wonderful. Thank you for that advice. And because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone, Noah, I have one last question for you. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Field of Dreams.
Oh, I love it. I love
It would.
it.
because it's all about listening to that voice that doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, what? And I've done that so many times. I could tell you a lot of stories about that. But yeah, just you listen to that voice, you go, what are you crazy? Right? I got to mow my corn. Right? So I've done the equivalent of mowing your corn many, many times. And you know what? Every time I listen, it works out great. If I don't listen, that's when I get in trouble. So there you go.
Oh
Make sure
my
you listen
God.
to that voice, even when it doesn't
I
make any sense.
Right. I love it. That's perfect. Oh my gosh. Just wonderful. Well, thank you again, Noah, for joining us here today. And for information once again and to contact Noah, just go to the Epic Vision Zone bio pages and you'll find all of his social media there as well. And thank you for being here on the Epic Vision Zone. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at Jane Applegath. And don't forget to connect with me at janeapplegath.com, where you can access your free download, The Keys to Your Dreams. Sending you much love and success. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dreams into epic success.